Music is driving me insane. This is not an understatement. And yes, this is a video game playing in the background. The video is not about video games. A few words of context. I very rarely listen to music, aside from video game soundtracks while I play. The way my music listening has been going for the past more than a decade has been in short bursts. I am currently experiencing one such burst, except this time it feels different. It's like I finally hit puberty and I can experience emotions. You know, at the age of 30, normal stuff. Now listen, I'm a well-adjusted and mentally stable adult, so of course my initial and only reaction was an all-consuming need to understand the processes of the pagan magic that music works on my body. How can some vibrations ejaculate geysers of neurochemicals in my monkey brain with such frightening efficacy? I looked into it. I cracked open the forbidden tome, and all the arcane mysteries of music spilled out before me. I'll give you the short, pedestrian version, then I will delve more into the esoteric details of neuroscience. Music is just vibrations traveling through space. It makes a ring-ding-dong in our ears, which gets translated to our brains, and the juices there get swirling, and it produces some mental state in our noggin, based on the music we're listening to. Overly simplistic, right? Let me send you to the other corner by revealing my source. Andrew Huberman, bless his muscular and intelligent soul, has made an hour-and-a-half long podcast on using music to boost motivation, mood, and improve learning. That is where my information comes from. And if you want to listen to the whole thing, you can find a link to the podcast in the description. If not, let me hit you with the highlights. The mad lad up and started the podcast with, "This episode could have been titled Music is Your Brain." A hefty statement, one that can easily blow a person's mind. Or blow their music. Funny joke. Anyway, it turns out music is a neurological phenomenon as opposed to external, which means it happens in our brains and it activates nearly every piece of our brain. Not only that, it does so in such ways that our brain and also body help create that music. Our brain and body become instruments that contribute to the perception of that music. And there, 1 minute into the podcast, which includes the intro by the way, I'm already baffled, befuddled, and bewildered. I want to know more. I'm ready to welcome the dark magic of knowledge into my worthless vessel. But Huberman is not done piquing my interest. He said something we all kind of know. Well, you all kind of know. I have just reached teenage emotional maturity, remember? Music can describe emotion with a lot of nuance, even in the absence of lyrics. It can not only describe them, but also evoke them. It's like the missing link between language and accurate expression of our internal state. I can tell you that I'm angry, sad, happy, hyped, etc. But with music I can help you experience those things instead, which would increase the level of understanding quite a bit. I have to say, if I myself don't understand my emotions, it feels weird that something external, that being music, can, while not explain or help me understand, evoke and help process emotions. It's so weird. Did I say that already? Let me list a few more cool things music does that you wouldn't think it does. Music can imply intent. This one sounds obvious, but if I think about it, I realize it's not actually obvious to me. You can have scary, creepy, happy, or whatever music. But how does that imply intent? The example given in the podcast was war drums increasing in intensity as you get closer to your quarry, as opposed to your run-of-the-mill music band drumming. The Huber doctor even made the sounds with his face. I am not going to do that, but you can trust me when I say the intent was very clear. Next, music can generate action. For example, head bobbing. Apparently they did a study where they played music to babies, and those babies moved their torsos and or limbs to the music. So no, it's not just you. It appears to be something innate within us humans. Further to that, music temporarily activates a propensity to move, which doesn't have to be dancing, but rather all sorts of movement. Presumably, that's why gym bros like to listen to music as they pump muscles. I can't really tell, I don't do resistance training because my dermatologist said so. That's the actual reason, okay? Lastly, and get this, music can change health metrics Namely, it can lower resting heart rate, if not during, then after the music. So even if you listen to some hardcore butt-pumping slap banger, so long as it is music you enjoy, it should still do the trick. Music can also increase heart rate variability, which I can get into and explain what that means, but how about instead of doing that, I just tell you it's a good thing because of science, and you nod your head and agree. Presumably those effects occur due to changes in breathing, even if we are not singing. Holding our breath for the drop, breathing faster when the music picks up, etc. 10 to 30 minutes of listening per day should be enough to get some benefits. And something tells me you get your quota met regularly. Listening to music is so easy. Okay, now what actually happens in our tech skulls when we listen to music? How do all of those magical spells take effect? Here's how. We hear the sounds, and in response to that, our neurons fire, presumably so we can experience the hearing of music. I imagine this is how it works. We get the signal, the neurons fire, and we know what we're hearing. But if you think about it, that means as we hear music and our neurons fire in response to that music, it's like our body is reenacting the music within itself, like a piano mirroring the notes we hear, which for some reason I find fascinating. Like, we have those neurons that beep the do-re-mi in our brains as we hear the do-re-mi. Since listening to music evokes our neurons to fire at the same frequency as the music, our brain plays the same music we're hearing in our head. But since neurons speak the language of electrochemical communication, that means particular music evokes the release of neurochemicals in our brain at a particular frequency. Mr. Huberman called it sound-dependent pharmacological concert, and I think that's aptly put. Thinking about that makes me feel like listening to music ravages my innocent and defenseless mind. And I'm kinda into it actually. Anyway, if there was ever any doubt, put it to rest. You can literally induce an emotional state in someone else by playing music to them. I find the implications of that very exciting. And now we both understand what music does to bemuse my soul. Video over. Go jam your brain off to some sick bangers now.